Cool. I think we can get started. Wi-Fi is up, but we likely won't get what's going on af- before today. So we will go into some of those. But home Wi-Fi, we will just look into building a MIDI keyboard. It'll be the first thing we will try in Max. Cool. Hope you've enjoyed the processing part. We've pretty much done with the processing. At the end, we will still connect it again from Max to processing, but now we are jumping into the more music and audio side of things. And now it's more like a signal view of programming. So we will see soon. So just to recap, there's three basic things in Max where you have object. So object is those things with this like decoration basically, and message is something that it's just a message. We will see later. It's a little bit confusing what message and object is when they are doing differently, and also number. But command is just those things that does nothing, just showing, just like comment. So we have like easy stuff like toggle button where you could basically just unlock it. So one of the things that is a little bit confusing is that you can lock and unlock. So once you lock, then you can click on this object to interact with these things. Once you click unlock or Control E versus Control E to lock and unlock. Once you unlock, now you cannot click it, but now you can move it. But anyway, that's one of the confusing things about it. But basically, there's a bunch of shortcut. If you press B, you get a button. If you press T, you get a toggle. So usually those are very straightforward. If you want to get a new object, then you do N, new object, basically. Then you can do all sort of stuff. So these are survival sort of like shortcut. If you want to get a message, you press M, then you get this message. There's also other shortcut like N. No, N will give you a new number. I will give you an integer. F will give you the, a float. So that's essentially what's going on. So yeah, integer and float. So you will see the dot at the end, then it's a float. That will be, 0 0.2, 0 0.3. And if it's an integer, then it will only be integers. And you can actually grab these things and then go up and down to change the number of that. Same for the float. So that's the way how you interact with it when you are in the lock mode. So if you are not in the lock mode, then you see that when you click it, it actually just becomes sort of like something you can move around. But if you lock it, then you can interact with it. So that's sort of the idea of Max is that, well, everything has like two modes. One is when you interact with it. One is when you are editing you are writing your code, basically. So you can think about like the processing, you write the code and then something that you can play with, but now Max is like in the same things. When you press Control E, lock it and unlock it, then you can get those. There's also a bunch of stuff that you can play with in processing. Those are different, objects, slider. This is like range slider where you can just do a range so that it will output like this number and this number, like lower to high. So you can select a range. The gain will be, you see that, right? So this will be something that's unlike slider. This is like a number. The gain is something like a signal flow can pass through it. So you can actually control the volume of signal rather than the number. And dial, you can also do it. And these things we will see later. Like this is like the XY path basically. And mode slider will be something you can draw. So you can think about this could be like an ADSR envelope drawer, or you could also do sort of like, I don't know, if you want to increase like an exponential ADSR, likely not ADSR, but exponential something. There's also these two things that we will see later. MIDI keyboard, basically you will do it with this thing from your laptop, basically. There's also like Max for Life stuff, but these are, unless you want to create like a plugin for Live, then you will use these more Live, Ableton Live themed updates. Cool. And I should share all these files to you, and I forgot it again. I will try to upload it later tonight or tomorrow. Cool. So I guess that's what we done last time. And we also look into this playlist thing. Um, cool. So this is like the one of the simplest things that we can do. So, you can grab some of the example audio here. You can grab a sound and put it here. Oh, I'm in lock mode. So if you're in unlock mode, you can grab a sound and put it here, then it will become something like this. You can actually add more audio to that. I believe you can just put it on top of it. I actually forgot how to add it on top of that. It's like control. Oh, maybe it's here. Yeah, if you put it at the bottom part, it will become two things. So that's how we get this thing. Um, Anyway, now if you lock it, then you can actually play with this. You can play the brushes sound once you turn up the volume anyway. And you have like drum loop. These are all the example audio you can find here. You can actually change the duration filter so that you get longer sounds. There's like a easy to use. So these are shorter sounds. These are longer sounds. Anyway, this is the easy deck thing we talk about. So when you press unlock and then you press N like a new object and then you do easy deck. And now the tail dot things, meaning that this is like something about audio, something about signal rather than a number. And then you press enter, you actually just turn it into this speaker thing. So you can think about these are the speaker. If you don't have these stuff, then, if you play it, these signals goes to nowhere. It's playing inside with this object. So if you want to have it play somewhere else, play through the speakers, you have to create this speaker thing. And once you connect these outlets from this object, you can basically just grab them and put it into the left and right channel of the speakers. Then you will hear through them. So that's the easy things you can do. And you will see that these are striped because those are signals rather than just a single number. Cool. So you can actually do all sort of things. These are some of the things you can do. This is the thing that we can try. So you can do new and do GAN tilde. This is actually how you get that GAN control thing. Once you click enter, you get this thing. So this thing, when you lock it, you can actually turn the volume up. So everything in max sort of like go from 0 to 127. And in this case, 100 will be the 100% level. So that's sort of like 100 would be identity doing nothing, and 127 will boost that, more dB onto that sound, and everything below that will be lower. Anyway, how you do it with Max is that you could basically just get rid of these things. I think I have to press shift or I have to play ALT to select these two. So now you can actually, go through this GAN and then you get the output. Yep. So now you can do something like this. Now this sound will go through this GAN and then go to your output. So, if it's like by default somewhere around 100, then it will be the same sound. But if you lower it, it will be lower volume. Increase the volume, and likely you will get some clip, because, these sound are already normalized. But anyway, that's some of the way you can interact with these stuff. You could also get this meter. I actually
The inlets?
inlet.
Like the out, wire. But what is the inlet?
Oh, inlet is just like usually the top will be inlet, the bottom will be outlet. So everything there will be inlet and outlet. Also, these are not here. So the outlet will be this thing.
Yeah.
Inlet will be this thing. So this is the inlet for these things. Yeah.
Why do you have two wires for the speaker?
Because the left and right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a little bit
The
confusing.
left one was like the inlet or something, the right one though.
Oh, no, usually top will be inlet, bottom will be outlet, and
Okay, that makes
these things are like sort of like think about the program, like the arguments, the first argument, second argument, third input.
Okay,
So you can have multiple inlets to one thing. And if you look at this, there are actually 5 outlet. And if
Okay.
you look at it, it's actually channel 1,
Oh, I see.
channel 2, channel 3, channel no, this is not channel 3. This is like sync output. So I don't know what that is actually.
Gotcha.
But you could have multiple output stuff, multiple input. In this case, it's only one input. This input will control which songs you are doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so everything has some inlets, most likely. Everything has some outlets, most likely. So in this case, this thing actually doesn't have any outlets because you are playing the sound. That's the end of the signal. If you send it to the speaker, then it's done. And so here are also some of the other things. This is like the meter thing. So if you do and meter theora, you get this meter things. Originally it would look like something like this. So if you connect something to that, then we can get a listen. So originally it would be something like this, but you can also reshape it. If you are in unlock mode, you can reshape it so that it looks differently. Anyway. So, there are so many different ways to do it. There's also scope. We talked about last week to see the waveform, and spec scope is basically FFT. So all of these can be done by, these are like special objects where you do and then you do spec scope. Then you will get, when you press enter, it will just become that thing. Did I misspell it? Back. It didn't misspell it. Spec scope. Let me see what it is. Oh, spectroscope. There's a typo. Spectroscope. And then you press enter, it becomes that thing. Cool. Yeah, that's basically it. All we want to talk about here. We also talk about how you can actually use your key to control it. Basically, it's like 1, 2, 3. So when you press 1, you get 49. Now you want to minus 48. So this thing now becomes like a minus object, where this thing is a minus object. So if you press N and do minus, you get this like minus object, which is kind of funny to look at it. So this thing is like the left one will minus the right one. And now you do minus 48 is like setting the default value for the right channel. So now everything goes to this minus 48 things. It would just get, subtracted from the inputs. So in this case, when I press 1, it will get 49. 1. If I press 2, or 2. So that basically shows, what this input is doing. Like the inlet of this playlist will be controlling which songs you are playing. And so the inlet and outlet, how do you even know what those are doing? Now again, I forgot what exactly is the shortcut for finding the there's a shortcut for finding it on the documentation, but anyway, you could actually search for it. I think it's Control Shift F, but it's not Control Shift F. Anyway. Yeah, you can actually look at the Max documentation to see what those inputs inlet and outlet is. Or, you can actually just hover onto it, and usually it will be very self-explanatory. Cool, those are playlists. And you can actually, even though these are mostly music, you can actually play video. So it's actually the same thing. We won't talk a lot about video, but this is likely the only thing we will talk about video. So you can actually do exactly the same thing, go to video, grab some video into your, so I forgot to unlock again. So unlock, then you can grab something from the video channel, whatever that is, then you become something similar to the music playlist that you have. Now, one thing interesting is that you can actually do JIT.p window. That will be, so we talk about Jitter. Jitter is the video processing platform. So what you can do here is that now you can actually video in Max. So this is the chicken video. That's one of the example video in Max. Anyway, so it's basically the same idea. One thing you notice that's different is that this line is another color yet. So for audio, it will be, I forgot what the audio color is like. Audio, because it changed the color every time. But anyway, audio and video will be a different color. So for audio, it will be this pattern. And for video, it will be yet another color. That's it. So the green dash things, not the stripe one, would be the video signal. So you can imagine when you press play, this will sort of like read this file and then try to send the video output. But now the video output goes nowhere. So now you want to create a JIT P window thing so that it will take the signal, video signal, and then render it on the screen. So that's what's going on here. So, well, we won't talk a lot about the whole JIT things, but basically you could, you know, play. So you can basically do the same thing for the music playlist. So, one thing we talk about is this things. Now we should be able to hear something. Hopefully it's not too loud. Let's do 440. That would be like a C. So, you can do 440 and go through this cycle tilde thing. So the cycle tilde thing will just generate like a sine wave with whatever frequency you send it. So 440 is the number. You send it to cycle, then this cycle thing will turn that 440 into like a 440 hertz signal. And then you go through these things that control the volume. So as I said, 100 will be the 0 dB, like the default one. Everything beyond that will be much higher and lower volume. Anyway, let's get rid of these so that it won't be annoying. So you can actually do other stuff like that. Not this. So this, you can actually grab a pick dictionary. So this thing, not pick dictionary. Well, once again, I forgot what exactly this thing is. Pick slider. So you can do n pick slider. Pick slider. And press enter, then you get this thing, like a square things, or you can actually also do it here. The slider, and there's this pick slider. You could also get the same thing. So this will be basically controlling X and Y at the same time. So as you can see, this like load bank will set it to 127 and 440, but anyway, forget about it. When you move your, mouse, let me lock it. When I move this mouse, you can see that, the x-axis correspond to this value. So the left outlet will be the x value. We can actually see it by adding the message. Wrong one. So you can see the left value here. So when I move, lock it. When I move it around, it will be 0 to 127. And this will be the left output, and it will send to this gain. So now we are using the X value to control the loudness of the sound. Let me just now, when you are moving left and right, you are controlling amplitude, and now at the y-axis, you are controlling And so these things will be times 10 times. So now we are actually doing 140. So somewhere here you can likely find 440. Yeah, so that would be like a, like a C at 89 volume. Anyway, so these are sort of like the simple thing that you can do. So this is like a XY controller so that you can get to numbers. And there will be two inlets. These two inlets set the XY like the number. So you can actually use another thing to control where the thing is. So you can actually add another slider here. You can add a slider here. Think about you have a slider, you want to control the left one. So you can actually use this to control the left one. You can actually have another slider to control the right one. If you connect it here, then now you can actually use these things. So, in Max, it's usually, these objects are usually dual purpose. Once, it can be displaying what you have visually, but at the same time, it could also be a control itself. So these sliders could be visualizer and controller at the same time. And these sliders can also be dial. It doesn't have to be just sliders. So in this case, you can even use these things to control. So I guess the idea is that, Max is very flexible in the way that is sometimes it's a visualizer controller, but also something you can play with at the same time. So, just feel free to just plug stuff and connect them together. Open time, you will get some cool stuff. Cool. Any questions so far? That's the most basic things, and we will continue to explore more about processing. Cool. So the next thing we will actually be doing is basically just MIDI player. You can find on the website about this handout, but basically it's just the file, and I will share the max patch to you likely on the Google Drive so that you can look into those. But these are just screenshot of those and try to add some notes on it. But basically that's what we will look into. So cool. Now we will do something, rather than generating the sound directly. Now we can first look into some of the MIDI things. So MIDI is much easier because, if originally, if you don't do any things like FN synthesizer or more fancy synthesizer, everything is just the things that we just listen to, those like sine wave. That's not very fun to listen to it for a while. So one thing we can do is to look at how Max work with MIDI, so that you can get a sense how Max works without have to deal deeper into how synthesizer work. That's something we will see over time. But for now, we can just look at MIDI. So MIDI is actually not too tricky to do it. One thing you need to do is that you have to set what your MIDI is doing. So how you can do that is that you can look at the MIDI info. So you can go to this options and go to this MIDI setup so that you set the correct MIDI that you have. So in this case, it will send the MIDI to the Microsoft synths so that you hear the MIDI sound. And you can also see these MIDI inputs because I'm also connected to the keyboard here. So likely on your laptop, on the workstation, you will see more MIDI inputs. But if you're just on your laptop, if it didn't connect to the keyboard, then you won't see those inputs. Anyway, we can do something now. So this is like a MIDI sound, apparently. So you can do 60, 100, 0. So that's sort of like the MIDI note. And 100 would be the volume, like the MIDI velocity. And the third one would be the channel. So in this case, we are all doing like channel 0 for simplicity. So this is sort of like how MIDI works. You press note down, and then you press a note off to turn it off. So everything larger than 0 is considered a node on event where you start a node, and then you have to use a node of event to close the node. That's how the whole MIDI things work. So once you click this 62, that's Ray, I think. Yeah. And then you close it. And then you have like me, and then you close it. So it's not so obvious why you want to close it, because now we have piano and piano will decay over time. But if you change to another instrument, say in this case, program out is now you are controlling the MIDI program. So 1 is the grand piano, 13 is likely guitar. Let's listen. No, it's not guitar. What's that? What's that? I don't really know. Marimba? Actually, you can go to general MIDI Wikipedia to see what those are. So if you go to this website, that's usually how I do it. Yeah, these are the things. So 13 would be, yeah, vibraphone or marimba. 13 is marimba, so that's what we just heard. 25 would be another sound. So in this case, it is stay longer. So if I press it, and if I didn't press note off, then it will stay for longer. If I press it and then close it immediately, it would just got cut off. So this is like MIDI note down, MIDI note off. So MIDI note off is a little bit tricky because everything with velocity 0 would be a note off. That's how you close a note. So you will connect these things to this note out things. So this note out, you can think about, it's sort of like similar to what we have with this, the easy deck thing. So, if you send a signal to the easy deck, it will be sent through the speaker to play it out. But this note out will be, you send to the synthesizer in your laptop. So in this case, it's the Microsoft synthesizer. So it will, once you send it to this, it will send something to your laptop's, synthesizer so that it can play the sound. And this program out will be sending this program to your synthesizers to set the program. So in this case, 25 will be another case. And 128 is the gunshot. That's the Brendan's thing in general MIDI. So there's like 128 gunshot. There's a bunch of different things. 125 is the telephone ring. So that's it. You actually get like different tone of telephone ring. Anyway, so that's how you can basically sort of like interact with that, but that's not likely not to find in the most case. So in this case, if you want to work with drum, in this case is how you work with drum. So drum in MIDI is encoded in channel 10. So whenever you have channel 10, then you will get the drum sound. And every other channel, you will get a non-drum sound. So in this case, whatever program you have, it will still sound like drum. So that's a bit confusing. So in MIDI protocol, drum is not controlled by the program, where program is for instrument, but ironically, anyway, drum is in the special channel 10. So whenever you have special channel 10, then those will be drum. And you can also look at general MIDI to see what are the drums. So the things will show you. So usually 35, 38, acoustic bass drum, acoustic snare, hi-hat. Where's hi-hat? Hi-hat is here, 42. So those are the most useful ones. Cool. Okay, now much more trickier. So, one thing you might notice is that this is like a very, unnatural way to work with like MIDI is that you have to turn it on and then turn it off. It doesn't make much sense. So, that's how the MIDI protocol work, but we doesn't have to be like that. So, actually there's this things called make note. So this is like basically generating a pair of MIDI event for you automatically. And it take multiple numbers for that. So the first number is the pitch. So you want to get the pitch. The second number would be the velocity. And the third number would be the duration. And the last one would be the MIDI channel. So now, previously we are looking into, just pitch, velocity, and channel. But now we can actually add one more thing, pitch, velocity, and then duration and channel. So in this case, we are getting some pitch with, 1,000 milliseconds. So in max, everything is in millisecond rather than second. So 1,000 would be 1 second. So in this case, we can look at it. Okay, let's turn it back to the piano. So this will be holding the piano. Let's turn to another one. So holding the piano for 1 second. Okay, this is yeah. So we can actually change these things into 100 millisecond. Then it will be much shorter. So you can also do 10 seconds, but we likely won't feel the difference because it will decay over time anyway. But once you do it with a shorter duration, you will see that this is like 10 millisecond, which is only 1% of a second. So it just doesn't sound good. Anyway, and these are ways you can actually do chords. So one thing you might wonder is that why these things won't be, first pitch, velocity, and then duration, because everything here, it actually sent to the same pitch inlet. So all these will be the pitch. So in this case, when I click this thing, it actually generates three message from this note, make note actually. So what's going on when I click that is that, and notice there's the comma here. So it will send 60 into these things. So the first thing you will do is actually make note 60, 100, 1,000, 0. So this is the first thing it did. So pitch, velocity, duration, and channel. And then the second one, 64. And then it will do 64, 100, 1,000, 0. And 67, 100, 1,000, 0. So when you set these things up, when you do make note, you can actually just do it this way without any default values. So once you add, 100 into this thing, it will set the first velocity into 100. And then you have like 1,000. Then it will set the second one as the 1,000. And then if you add the 0, now look at how many inlets we have. So now it's only 3 inlets. Once you get this 0 here, it will actually show up additional inlets. So this thing actually has like 2 versions of it. So make note, you can do it with channel. You can also do it without channel. But in this case, once you have like default to 0 channel, then the channel inlet comes up. So sometimes it's a little bit tricky. You have to work with these objects so that you know how many inlets you will get. But anyway, these will set the default value for these additional channels. And that's why when you lock it and then you press it, you get the chords. Because basically what's going on is that you generate 3 notes at the same time. And the same for things. And, other instruments. Cool. Questions on this? Why so complicated? So that's exactly how Macs work. And you can also see how the output is connected. So, this make note output would actually generate two messages at the same time. We can actually see it. So we can see it with likely the velocity. So let's click this. So you see what's going on here. So as I said, velocity is like set the the volume of that note, and zero velocity is to turn off that note. So once I click this, and now this is like duration is 1,000. So it actually send two message out from this make note things. It will send 60, 100, 1,000, 0, and then it will wait 1,000 millisecond, which is 1 second, and it will send another thing is 60, 0, 0. So now we don't have the duration, because the duration is actually just controlling how long you wait here. So what happened here, if you look at this, when I click it, it will send the 60, 100, 0 thing. So the second one will be 100. And then after 1 second, it will actually send a 0 message. So 60, 0, 0. So this will be a node off to turn off the sound. This will be a node on to turn on the sound. So that's essentially what make node is doing. It's actually handling that duration, the node on and node off event for you automatically. And everything is still the same. You send to the node out, as you see here, that you can actually just work with these, node on, node off, node on, node off. But in this case, it would do node on and node off at the same time. So that's essentially these make note object is doing. Cool. Questions? Now we will get into something more fun. So as we saw last week, that you can actually create these things, and you might be wondering like, why should we care about these things? So this will be like a easy way. And in the first homework, basically you will create using your laptop so that you can play like a keyboard on your laptop, so that you can get a sense of what Max is doing without getting into troubles with all the sound things, because now we are doing MIDI, but it's a good way to sort of have you familiar with what Max is doing. Anyway, so what's going on here is that once I click this C thing, let's see what's going on. So whenever you want to visualize what's the outlet is doing, you create a message by, pressing M. And then now this is a little bit tricky. You want to connect to the right one so that you show the message. If you look at the top, this is like trigger the message. So this is actually just a trigger. It won't show up. So at the right one, it will be the message content. Set the message without output. So if you connect to the right one, it will show whatever their stuff is there. So I can also show the right-hand side here. So now let's just press a random key, not a random key, middle C. So you will see that at the left, this is 60. So this is the MIDI, MIDI no number. Middle C is 60. That's all you need to know. And everything else you just propagate. So 72 will be high C. Low C would be 60 minus 12 would be 48. So 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, basically, that's how you count. And so this will be 72, 60, 48, 36, whatever. So that's it. And one thing very unintuitive about this controlling thing is that where you are on this keyboard is controlling the velocity. So at the bottom, it will be 0. So you don't hear anything because it's very low volume. And somewhere here is like 100. That's the default volume. And this will be 100. This is the maximum velocity that you have. And that happens the same for this black key. So at the bottom will be 0. So no sound. In the middle will be 100-ish. And at the top will be 120. So it's a little bit tricky to work with these, keyboard, because it's a little bit not so intuitive. Anyway, but you can actually use these as a control to sort of debug or do whatever you like, so that you can get these things. So now, you have the, pitch and velocity. Now you basically create a node that's by default velocity is 100, but in this case, you always get the velocity. So this doesn't actually do anything. 1000 would be, the 1000 would be the length, the duration. So now what happened if I click this 10? Any thought? What's this is for? No idea. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, whenever you see 10, likely it's something about drum. That's a good intuition. So these four: pitch, velocity, duration, and channel. So once you click 10, once you click the things, it will sort of like, imagine like what happened in Mac is that whenever you click something, it will send, so like a bank. That's what we call it, a bank. So a bank will come in and now set the channel to 10. So this default value 0 no longer work once you have something coming in. Now things will become 10. So now everything will be a drum. And now I couldn't find where. Oh, that's the snare. So yeah, so this will be snare. No, bass drum, snare, and this is hi-hat likely. Yeah. Close hi-hat and open hi-hat. Anyway, and then you can set it back to channel 0. Now you get your, piano back. Cool. Any question on this? We will basically do something similar in homework 1. So homework 5, homework 1 for Max. So what you want to do is that, we talk about in previous class where you can use this, key object. Oops. New key. And then you can actually add a message to see what this key is. So, if I press A, you will get 97. S, you will get 115. So you can actually map which key you are pressing. And now is that how do you convert this into the exact MIDI note number so that you can make the note? So that's essentially what you want to do in homework 5 to get you started. So, basically we will have everything you need, just that you need to grab stuff together to combine them into your first Max patch. So now we want to talk about another things that you can actually create an instrument selector. So this is likely not the best way to organize a Max patch, but anyway, this is what it is. So there's actually this things called select. Whoops. So and select. Oops. Anyway, you see it here. So this is like select 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this select thing is a very handy stuff that you can do. So you see the things. This thing is called, what is this thing called? I think it's like radio or something. U menu, yeah. So you can do U menu to get these things. You can click on this inspector to change what these numbers would be. So menu items, you can edit here so that you get the menu. So you can do piano, guitar, bass, drums, and you hit OK. Then it will be, I think I need, cool. Cool. So now you see that now we create a 4 drop-down menu: piano, guitar, bass, and drums. So now you can actually create a message. So think about creating this message. And when you connect this, it's sort of like print when you are debugging. So now if I click piano, you will see that it get 0 because that's the first item that you have. In Max, it's a little bit tricky because sometimes 0 bass, sometimes 1 bass, especially when you work with MIDI, then it's 1 bass. But in this case, it's 0 bass. Guitar and bass would be 2. and drums will be 3. So this select thing is that it will match all these numbers to the output. So what this select thing does is that, well, you have select 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will basically match. So now if the input is 0, it will, so now you have like 5 channel actually. So these things are actually routed to these things. So now if you have a 0 as input, it will look at the 0, like this is the match, then it will trigger something from the first match. So this thing is basically select 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is that this will match to 0. If it's 0, then the first one. If it's 1, then the second one. If it's 2, the third one. If 3, this fourth one. A little bit confusing because it's 0 base rather than 1 base. But basically this is what's going on. So, if it's piano, then it will be 0, then it will send 1 actually. So one thing we could visualize that is to do a bunch of bottom here. So that's actually put them here so that you can see what's going on. So what I'm doing here is that, well, this is the first button, connect to the first outlet. The second button, connect to the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. Cool. So now we have a bunch of buttons. And so now when I select the piano, you see that there's a bang coming up here. And when I select guitar, it will get a 1, and the select is the second channel, so it will send it back to the second channel. And you select bass, select drums. So all sort of these things are just a way to sort of like help you debug. You can also connect a message to this thing. It will actually show the bang. So when I click piano, you will see this bang. So what's going on, you can think about bang is just like a one-shot one sending out. If there's a bang message, it will show up the button or trigger this message. Or in this case, it will trigger this one so that it send the one into the program. So that's essentially what happened when you click this piano. It will send a bang here and then send a bang here, but also here, but also here. So you see the bang here, you see the button lights up. It will also press this button. And so that set the program. So now you get the piano sound. Now, if you have guitar, it will send a bang to this 25. So now it becomes a guitar sound. So that's essentially how you can do it. Now the tricky part will be, the drum. So now when I click the drum, it actually send a bang to this output. And now you see this connection. Actually, you go all the way to press this. So now you set the channel to 10. And so that's how you control it now become. It's not a drum. Something's wrong going. Let me see. Drums. Let's try again. Drums. What's going on? Did I mess up something? The third one. Bass. And then drums. What's wrong here? Did I mess up something? Oh, I forgot to connect this. So the MIDI channel is not connected. That's why even I set the channel to 10, then this is not effective. So now I connect it and I likely can hear the drum sound. Okay, nice. So when I do bass, actually this is not done yet. So when I select bass, you should actually trigger this 0 so that it turned it back to bass. Otherwise, this is still drum. Once I click this 0, now it becomes the the bass. So that's essentially what you want to do in homework 5, where you want to complete this so that when you click the drums, you know, it will set the channel to 10, but whenever you click something else, it will automatically set it back to 0. Cool. Questions on this? I guess just do it on homework and you will get a sense how tricky it is in Max. So now you see me doing all the stuff and sometimes it's get very um shaky, and you know, sometimes you forgot to connect this and somehow the drum is not working and you stare at it for, I don't know, 10 minutes and at the end you realize I forgot to connect that channel thing. So that's Max programming. It's kind of chaotic and tricky, but that will be fun. And over time, you will get used to it. Cool. So MIDI likely not the most tricky one because basically we are not yet connecting, you know, generating sound and then send it to speakers. We just saw that, you know, how you can generate a cycle tailed up to generate a sine wave. But in this case, we are working with MIDI, so it's much easier, and it won't likely break your ear like easily. Cool. Let me see what else. So we can actually build a MIDI keyboard. Should get rid of these. Okay, cool. So that's what we can do. So you know, you have a key A, S, D, F, but these just like random numbers. That's actually not, you know, corresponding to, you know, A, you know, C, do, re, mi, fa, so basically. So in this case, this is not that helpful. You have a key, you get the key, and then you use it as a pitch, but how do you even know where those are? So that's essentially what homework 5 we are trying to do. So you can see that this is one of the things we do with the select thing we talk about just. So select will basically match everything with that. So 97 will be A, W will be 119. So this is essentially how you can build. So you have like a on your laptop, likely if you are using 4D, and there will be A as D. What else? F, G, H, J, K. I'm running out of space. Anyway, this will be W. What's this? E, R, E, Y. What's this? U. Okay, cool. So these are basically those numbers. So when you click A, we couldn't see here. If we click A, it would be 97. S would be 100. 115, W will be 119. So basically, you know, these numbers are just those numbers. So 97, 119, 115, 101, 100, 102, blah, blah, blah. So that you can basically map these key to the specific note number. So what's going on here, as we can see that, you know, this is when you have a, let's just connect to some of those. The second one and another one. So these will be AWS, which is ironic because AWS just this morning has some outage. Anyway, AWS, so you can see that AWS, when I pick it, A will be 97, 119, 115. So AWS, hopefully we won't crash again, AWS. Anyway, that's how you can get all the sounds. I don't know what's going on with this things. But anyway, if we get rid of those, and I get rid of these, then cool, then this should work. So now, yeah. So that's, you know, one of the easy things you can do in Max, where you could basically have the key. This will read the ASCII code of the keyboard, and this will map 97, all these numbers to the specific outlet. So these are like a bunch of like 12 outlets. that will be, you know, the MIDI 60, 61, 62 all the way to 72. So that will be middle C to high C. And then you connect to this make note thing so that, you know, by default, it will set the default velocity to 100 and then the default duration for 1,000. So this is for key. What's going on here? So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I will skip those. But one thing we want to do in homework 5 is that, well, now what we are doing is that every single key, whatever you press it, it will be 1 second. But that's not how the MIDI keyboard works. A MIDI keyboard is where you press it, and when you lift it, it will only send that note off event when you lift your finger. So that's essentially what we want to do. That's this key up event. So what you want to do is, you know, in homework 5, is basically doing, I could just spoil it. But basically what you want to do is that you will have another key up event somewhere here where, you know, key will detect these and you no longer want to use make note likely. You could still use make note, but this will handle the note out. This will handle the note off whenever you have a key up event. So you can see by doing, again, if you want to do login, you could do message and then connect the output to the right-hand side of that message. This will become very, very helpful when you do your assignment. So this key out event, if you connect to the right one, so now you can see that when I press A, it will be 97. And when I lift my finger, it will only show up when I lift my finger. So W119, and that's still 97. But now when I lift it, it will be 119. So basically, you know, in homework 5, it's just like playing with these two things, copy pasting around so that you can, you know, control the keyboard like a real keyboard. There's a bunch of more text, but I will just forget about those. You can actually just make it into even more. You can actually make it cleaner by using this funnel thing. But usually this is fine. You know, it's kind of ugly, but very, you know, straightforward what's going on. The funnel thing is actually you can turn, you know, all the things into just one things where you could just do funnel 1360. So all these things can be sort of merging into the things. And when you press this button, it can just automatically turn it into, oh, you see all those things because those shortcut. So when you press these things, it will actually generate those numbers directly without having to have all these things. There's also a way you can actually use a dictionary to set up a dictionary. You can also load from the MIDI map so that you get all these mapping. So once you have this mapping, then you can actually just use this mapping to do your whole MIDI keyboard. So once you have that, you know, key map, now you can actually just do this dictionary lookup so that you get what the corresponding numbers would be. So the dictionary way would be much more efficient if you have if you want to do multiple octave on your keyboard. But most of the case, this would be good enough. I mean, this would be good enough. Very visually appealing, like a good max patch. Anyway, that would be homework 2 basically. Some of the essential shortcut things that you might want to know is that, you know, if these things doesn't look clean, everybody has their own way to mess up or clean up their max patch, but you can do Control-Shift-A to align them. At least they will look cleaner. And if you want to select these things, you can select it and delete. But if you want to select multiple of them, press Alt. So there will be likely option on Apple's laptop. Then you can select multiple of them. So these are some of the, you know, survival keyboard things. But usually it's just Control Shift and L. Then those are more intuitive way to work with Macs. I kind of forgot how do you route these things. Oh, Control Shift Y so that it can actually route it for you. So in this case, sometimes when you think about you draw this and it's like kind of ugly, or if you like it, it could be if potentially you like it. So you can do Control Shift Y, then it will route it into that 90-degree transition. So in this case, you can also Alt and select all of them, Control Shift Y, to turn them into these so like angled chords. But it's up to you how you want to do it. Some folks like this, and even some folks like to center align them. It looks nice. So it's totally up to you. For me, I usually left align those, but totally up to you. And one thing I don't like about Max is that message is always this like weird transition. But anyway, that's what Max is. Cool. Questions? Otherwise, you pretty much get everything you need for homework 5. So that's it. I have the homework file up already on the course website. It's very straightforward, so it's just a bunch of text. But basically, you want to map ASDF, GH, JK, middle C to high C, and WETYU. It sounds like some pinyin, but anyway, with U will be C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. And you want to support, multiple pitch polyphony. So that's easy in this case. Later you will see in FN synthesizer where polyphony will be our next big challenge in homework. That's super, 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 super tricky, as I can tell you. But anyway, we will get there. And this is basically what I just showed. You will have a U menu object where you will select piano, program 1, guitar program 25, bass program 33, string program 49, the most tricky one, drums, channel 10. And this is the only thing. So, MIDI pitch should go from 35 to 60 when you set up the drums. And then you have to, when you click the drums, it should trigger that channel 10. And when you switch back to piano, it should revert back to channel 0. Cool. And have fun.